Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome into a brand new episode of the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. My name is Jackson Durham, and today we've got a loaded show for you guys. We've got some breaking news to kick this one off. This actually broke last night, but the Chiefs have made a hire, a key addition to the offensive side of the ball to Eric Bieniemy's coaching staff. And then we're also going to talk about something else, some Fox Sports free agency predictions that they put together about what the Kansas City Chiefs might do this offseason, who they might go after, who they might let go, and what Travis Kelce might decide to do. But I got to remind you guys, whenever there's Chiefs news, whenever the Chiefs make a hire, a trade, a signing, whatever it's going to be, this offseason is going to be extremely busy, guys. I've been calling it, and I think this is true, the most important Kansas City Chiefs offseason in years, at least a decade, in my opinion. To keep the dynasty on track, you're going to have to make some things happen this year, so make sure you lock in with us and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the news you need around the Kansas City Chiefs, because it is coming. And it came last night, to be honest with you. DeMarco Murray, he is announced as the new Kansas City Chiefs running back coach, coming over from the University of Oklahoma, where he has been a running back coach for the last couple of seasons. And you might be familiar with Murray if you are a long-term NFL fan. He was a really good player. I remember watching DeMarco Murray. I'm a huge Oklahoma Sooners fan. I know a lot of you guys already know that. Murray was a great player when I was a kid growing up at Oklahoma, playing alongside Sam Bradford. And then after that, he played for the Cowboys and the Titans and the Eagles, if I remember correctly. Really good career in the NFL as a running back, over 7,000 career rushing yards. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, he's not that great of a coach, at least of running backs. The results at Oklahoma, mediocre, I think, at best, and getting worse pretty much every single year. Outside of the first two seasons, where they go from 31st to 10th, they have trended down basically every year in terms of running back production. And yeah, DeMarco Murray is not the offensive coordinator, or I guess was not the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. He didn't call the run plays, so I don't think you could fully blame him for the lack of success, but they also switched out offensive coordinators. So, and again, and head coaches changed over this time period, and the run game didn't improve. And further, I think there's a talent development issue with DeMarco Murray as well. Oklahoma maybe had the biggest transfer portal bust of any position in the entire 2025 transfer portal with the signing of Jaden Ott, running back from California. He comes over, Oklahoma really expecting him to be a productive member of the team this season. DeMarco Murray hoping to get him back on track after a bit of a down year at Cal, trying to get him back to that 2023 production. That never materializes for Ott. And a guy who was initially projected to maybe get back on track to being a first round, second round, third round draft pick might go undrafted. At the end of the day, guys, I wish I could be a lot more excited about this hire. But what I know about DeMarco Murray, outside of being a fantastic career football player, is that he hasn't been that successful at developing running back talent at the University of Oklahoma. And yes, professional coaching is different than college coaching. But as I understand it, and I've never been in the building, but from people who have, DeMarco Murray's biggest value that he brought to Oklahoma was his ability as a recruiter. And frankly, that's kind of useless at the NFL level. I'm worried about this depth chart. I've said this over and over again. We have two pending free agents, so the top two guys in the running back position for the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of rushing stats, outside of Patrick Mahomes, hilariously. They're both pending free agents. They both might be out the door. And honestly, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if they left, because this run game wasn't good enough. That's the big issue. At the end of the day, you just weren't good enough on the ground. And I have serious questions about whether or not we're setting up Jeremiah Love for success. Is this the best situation to bring him into at the end of the day? I don't think so. I want him at the 9th overall pick. I've made no secret of that. If you've been watching our content over the last couple weeks, you know that I want Jeremiah Love, that I want to bring him in, that I think he would be a fantastic addition to this offense. But I don't think DeMarco Murray is the right call to develop him. I think at the end of the day, we're going to have to trust that Eric Bieniemy, our offensive coordinator, who is a fantastic coach of running backs, was a fantastic running back at Colorado in his actual career, and has been a great running back coach as well, knows what he's doing with the hire, and that he can primarily be the one to lead Jeremiah Love's development. At the end of the day, that's what gives me, while I'm not thrilled about the hire of DeMarco Murray, I don't think it's end of the world panic mode at all. I'm not freaking out. I don't think this is going to ruin Jeremiah Love if we draft him, because I think Eric Bieniemy at the end of the day is a master at the running back position, and he alone can guide the development of Jeremiah Love, even if Murray doesn't end up being that helpful at the end of the day. Or maybe Eric Bieniemy knows more than I do, and Murray's a great call. At the end of the day, I'm looking at what we've seen at Oklahoma, but there's a lot of mitigating factors. Hopefully, Murray is better than what he showed at Oklahoma. But let me know what you think. Excuse me. What is your take on the hiring of DeMarco Murray as the Kansas City Chiefs running back coach? Obviously, a bit of a bumpy tenure at Oklahoma. Talent didn't get developed in the way I think the Sooners would have really liked to see. Production wasn't there on the ground game, but I think there's potential here, and I still really want to see Jeremiah Love come in and be the key to this offense. But let's switch gears a little bit. What did Fox Sports project for the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason to do in free agency? You guys are not going to believe who they projected that we would sign. Absolutely shocking and kind of hilarious, to be honest with you. But we'll get to that in just 1 minute. First, I got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, and that is PrizePicks. Guys, shoot your shot on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right, PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Pick from all your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. Here's my lineup for tonight's basketball action. I'm going with the more on Chet Holmgren. I'm going with the less on Austin Reeves, and then I'm using LeBron's discount square, going with the more on the points there. You can tail me on this lineup. You can fade me on this lineup. Whatever you do, just do it at PrizePicks. And you join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sportspicks app. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And this is wrong. Fox Sports projected us to sign Mr. Unlimited? Yeah. Apparently, that's their headliner projection. Sign Russell Wilson this offseason. I know, we're not off to the best start with this Fox Sports article right here, but we're going to go one by one through their predictions. Obviously, signing Russell Wilson, a bit of a jarring first one. They did the top 100 free agents and just kind of tiered him down. I think he came in at 79, if I remember correctly. It might have been 97. I think it was 79. And they add him to the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll talk about him first, and I don't see this happening. If it wasn't already clear enough, when I look at our depth chart, I just see Gardner Minshew coming back. At the end of the day, I think Gardner Minshew's deal will probably be cheaper than Russell Wilson, and if I'm going to be straight up with you guys, I think he's a better player than Russell Wilson. What Russell Wilson showed with the Giants last year was bad. It was bad football. Outside of a game where he got to play the Cowboys and ripped them to shreds because the Cowboys, I mean, if we're all being honest with ourselves, played the worst defense in the NFL, at least as far as the secondary went for most of the season last year. He wasn't good. I don't want him in Kansas City. I don't think, even if Patrick Mahomes is not ready to be the week 1 starter, which I'm not going to deny that that's a possibility, I'd rather see Gardner Minshew every day that ends in Y than Russell Wilson. Number 2, Resign Leo Chenal. I like it. I really do. I would love to see Leo come back. That's something I've said over and over again. I think Chenal, and some of you guys aren't going to like when I say this, I think he might be the most talented linebacker in the room. I'm straight up. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think he is a really good player. I think he's underutilized in this system. But at the end of the day, it's a bit of a money question, right? It's a dollar dilemma. Leo Chenal's decision is just going to come down to the Kansas City Chiefs cap space and what he wants in free agency. If there's other teams barking down the door for Leo, and if I'm Leo, to be completely honest with you, if I was going to put myself in his shoes, I'm testing my market a little bit. I want to go see what other teams might offer me in free agency because my usage in Kansas City has been not as great as it could be, in my opinion. I feel like I've played well enough to earn more snaps, and it hasn't come. So I would definitely want to go see what other teams could offer me, knowing how cap-strapped the Kansas City Chiefs are. So as much as I would love to get Leo Chenal back, I don't think it's anywhere near set in stone. I think it is ultimately going to come down to how much he wants and what the Chiefs are ultimately willing to spend on the position, with a lot of cap already tied up in Nick Bolton. Number 3, Travis Kelce calls it a career. And I read this and I was just like, okay, so whoever's writing this article isn't really keeping up on the reports, because their write-up of it was like, Travis Kelce's retiring, right? ? I assume so. And it's like, well, maybe we shouldn't do so much assuming, because there's a whole catchphrase about why you don't do that. And Ian Rappaport put out a quote pretty recently that makes it seem like that's anything but the case. We already talked about this on the show, but just for those of you who missed it, the perennial Pro Bowler who had a resurgent 2025 to reassert his place among the game's best despite being 36 years old has not made a firm decision on his future. However, he has been in touch with his team about a potential return, and Kansas City wants him back. Sources say the plan is to reconvene after the Super Bowl to finalize a plan that works for both parties. I don't think he's leaving, guys. I've said it before. I'll say it again right here, right now. I think Travis Kelce is coming back for one last ride in 2026. That's what all signs have been pointing to. It's kind of dismaying that this Fox Sports article doesn't really even seem like they're that up to date on the reports around Travis Kelce, but we'll set them straight as we always do on Chiefs News. Last 2. Steelers sign Bryan Cook. Vikings sign Jaylen Watson. Both of these guys projected to get out the door for the Kansas City Chiefs, and this goes back to what we talked about yesterday. When we talked about ESPN's powerful message to the Kansas City Chiefs in our video yesterday, one of the things in it is the many ways that we could use the number 9 overall pick to get a day 1 difference maker. And that day 1 difference maker, if it's Caleb Downs, might end up in a situation like this, where you see both of these guys walk out the door. And I know that'd be a little jarring. That'd be a little bit like, oh God, what are we going to do on the back end of this defense with 2 starters leaving in one season? Are we still trading Trent McDuffie? No. If both of those guys leave, even if you draft Caleb Downs, I don't want to see you move off of Trent McDuffie. At that point, you've saved enough cap with not signing these 2 guys, with not paying them probably a combined $34, $35 million. I know it's a lot of money. You don't have to trade Trent McDuffie in that instance, unless you really want to go get the draft capital, in which case it would have to be a haul. But I think it is possible that both Bryan Cook and Jaylen Watson leave. I wouldn't want to see both of them leave, but at that point, number 9 has to be Caleb Downs or some other defensive back. Maybe bring me Mansour Delane in that instance, Jermod McCoy. We could have a conversation about that if both of these guys do get out the door, but that's immediately where you're going to see the Chiefs' priorities switch to in round 1 of the draft if you let both of these guys walk. But let me know. Grade Fox's predictions. If this was how the Kansas City Chiefs offseason played out, if this was their major headliner moves, what would your grade be? I would give it like an F, honestly. This would be a pretty rough run. If that was everything that the Kansas City Chiefs did, that would be a pretty disastrous offseason, in my opinion. I don't think Fox did a great job of putting it together for the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you want to see it done a little bit better, and patting myself on the back here, We put out our own Kansas City Chiefs perfect offseason. That one's already out on the channel, along with a bunch of other Kansas City Chiefs news and rumors for you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out that video and our others to stay up to date on all the Chiefs news you need, and we'll see you in the next one.